and constitutional. Friday, February 16th, 2018. It's time for Progressive Washington with Rhonda, Courtney, Brian, and Oz.
Welcome to Progressive Washington. I'm Rhonda Walker.
And I'm Courtney Love. And today we'll be joined by Brian Cheeseman and Oz.
I'd like to welcome everybody in the audience today for joining us. Please share this out. We appreciate all the time you take into coming and learning on what we're working on in Washington State. So please stick around, share it out, let us know where you're watching from. And we encourage questions. So if you have a question throughout the show, please type out question in capital letters and put your question behind that so that we can make sure that we get to that and don't miss it. On today's show, we're going to actually talk about connecting with the revolution and how to be a doer. Courtney will take us through that. After that, we have from the land of Oz with his important pieces he brings to the show. And then at the end, we have Brian Cheeseman, progressive updates in a flash. So we're going to talk about our Progressive Washington Media, Uphill Media. It used to be, again, Bernie 2016 TV.
Hey, real quick, Rhonda.
Political Revolution. Yes, Brian?
Just wanted to let everybody know that we do have an engagement broadcast too. And if you have any questions during the show, write out question or tag me in the comments and I'll be able to get it on for you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Brian. So we're asking for support for our network. We have John in the background of our show. He's been working on this for a couple years now. And we're building up the western states. We've got Washington, Oregon, and California. And we're trying to bring you guys news on our progressive candidates and our progressive issues. And it does cost to produce our shows. And so we are looking to raise at least $27 per show in hopes to cover the cost that's being provided to us. And then above that, it would help to garner some more equipment. Some of the specific asks we have are some updated microphones that kind of boom and stands with that, high def cameras, live use solo so we can go out in the community, signal boosters so when we're out at rallies we can hold a good signal, and some battery packs so we can stream for as long as possible. The best thing to do is to go to uphillmedia.org, go to live stream productions, and then go to the Progressive Washington show and just say support our show. It is tax deductible, and we will be able to bring more of this valuable information to you. We are looking for some artists to create some swag so we can sell some t-shirts to help bring in some more donations. Please send any of your designs to progressivewamedia@gmail.com. And then go to shop.uphillmedia.org to purchase your swag.
Hey, Rhonda.
So thank you guys very much. Yes, John.
I first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for all of that promotional stuff. I was also doing a really terrible job of keeping up with you there because I had everything reversed. Those of you who are watching and listening right now, even if it's for the first time, what we really need help is getting the news out on this and sharing it. Please share it with progressive orgs. These guys do a really amazing job, spend a lot of time putting these shows together, and it really would help if we could grow our audience. So thank you very much. Carry on.
Thank you so much, John. Yes, very important. We are calling out to all of our organizations we have been connecting with through building a coalition. And if we can all come together and watch and support each other and share out, we could really get our message out there as it needs to be. So thank you, John, for bringing that up again.
I would also like to interject here, if I may.
Yes.
On our first show, we asked for volunteer or volunteers, preferably more than one, who know ASL. I obviously am not good at ASL, but we are looking for sign language interpreters. That's American Sign Language. And that will be for Progressive Washington, and for other shows. John's indicated that he was also interested. So share far and wide with your interpreter friends.
That's been a long time desire of Bernie 2016 TV, which is what we originally were. Back then we actually did a couple shows where we had ASL, and we were able to frame out an ASL person that Bernie had brought to a rally, and it was amazing what that added to it. So with this technology, we can bring in from home, office, car, wherever we are, and we'd love to work with you. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you, Courtney, for bringing that up again. I did just get a list, so I'm going to be sending out an email to some lists of interpreters, so hopefully we will find some in there. So up in our show, we this week, we were able to meet with Lissa Lucas. You guys might have heard of her. She's a candidate from West Virginia House. She was pulled away from the microphone while she was doing her testimony on a bill, and it garnered a lot of attention around the world. Right before we talked to her, she just got off the phone with BBC. So it was really exciting, and we got to actually speak with her it ended up being over an hour, but we just took out a clip. We asked her, I asked her, I'm like, how did you get that gumption to go up there and let it out? Because it would be a very hard thing to do. And this is a little clip of her answer on what got her to go up to the mic to begin with.
I honestly don't feel like it took a whole lot of gumption. I've been mad about this for so long, and finally there's a hearing on it, and I was going to be there for sure. That I was going to be at the hearing, and I have been in touch with a group of West Virginia mineral owners that are also opposed to the bill, and talking to them, I kind of knew what they were going to talk about. They were going to talk about certain parts of the bill and the property rights issues. And no one had said they were going to talk about money. And that's one of my big things. And I thought, well, I'll do the research, because that's, kind of what I do. If you look at my blog post, I always have links. When I state something, I usually have a link to the data supporting that. And, so that's the only thing I thought. Like, I had no idea I would be dragged out. I thought they might be mad because Selena Vickers, she's the one who went to the New Orleans, unrig the system. She went to a public hearing last year and had a point of order called on her for talking about campaign donations. But she had been, by the time they called that, she was done with her time and done with her comment. So she just stopped, and, nothing else came of that. But they called the point of order on me earlier, and I didn't want to give up my time. So the first thing I thought when he interrupted me was, oh, shit, there goes 10 seconds.
Yes. Reclaiming my time. We all have to get good at saying.
And that's exactly right, Courtney. We need to start reclaiming our time. And we were talking as a group, I think, after or doing that too, is how all of us need to start going to these hearings and calling out where the money's coming from. What do you think about that, Courtney?
Oh, I think I can get behind that. We've had some dirty money in local politics long enough for me to be a little irate myself.
Right. So they call it as they dragged her off because it was personal, and she kept saying, "No, it's not personal. It's not personal. This is fact. This is
This is public record. Campaign financing is public record, just like their votes are, just like anything. You can do a Freedom of Information Act on their emails. This is not private information. It's not a personal attack. It wasn't an attack on how they looked or how they spoke. It was an attack on their campaigning, and that is what we need to attack.
Right. So I encourage all of our candidates running, and those, I guess, already have a seat, to be aware that we're ready to come out and call out where your finances are coming from. We just found out that Cantwell might have come out and now saying that she's not going to take some big money. We're going to look into that further. But that's a great start. I would like to know if she's planning on returning any big money that she's received so far, if she does end up going that route. But I think our voices are being heard out there. You know, our candidates, our progressive candidates that are running, the ones that we get behind are ones that vow not to take any corporate money. And we have a lot to choose from. So it's not just on a whim. It's getting set.
Yes.
So thank you. I wanted just to update on some of that we're doing. She is a hero to all of us. It is a voice we need to hear more of. And she's fabulous. So you can watch the full hour with us on our Progressive Washington YouTube channel to come. Next up, we have Courtney. Courtney will be talking about how to connect with the revolution and how to be a doer. Courtney's motto has always been, be a doer. Go and take that away, Courtney.
One of my many mottos, be a doer. Thank you, Rhonda. People get involved. So my first question is, what moves you? Do you care about candidates? Do you care about a single issue? Do you care about everything? Because that's the category I fall into. I care about everything. So that's what got me involved in Washington Berniecrat's coalition, is because we're attacking on all fronts. And so there's a place for everyone in the revolution. And if you're a go-getter, get out there. If you can, be arrested in direct action. If you are a quieter person who, and maybe you're a parent, so you cannot risk getting arrested, then you don't get arrested. You do what you can. Always just do what you can. So then you ask, well, where do I look? Because maybe you don't live in Tacoma, and I do, and I know that that's one of the top 3 largest cities, most culturally diverse cities in Washington. So I feel lucky that when I need a connection to someplace, there's someplace local I can call. And I've lived my whole life here, so I might have made a few connections. But so where to look? Look to your tribes. I want to prioritize tribes. They were here first. We need to honor that. We need to recognize that we are benefiting from colonialism. So you go to your tribes and you introduce yourself and you ask, what are you doing and how can I help? And then you do the help they ask for. So then you can move on to unions. Organized labor is a fantastic way to join become organized. And even if you're not a labor union, a union member, there's a good chance they'll welcome you into, say, the protest march or the signature gathering or the fundraising. So you offer your services to the people who are already doing in your area. Then you can look at organized groups. There's also issue-based groups and higher education clubs. So with organized groups, the ones we're most familiar with, Dems and Republicans. So we have to address the Dem Enter movement. And then I've even heard of a Republican Enter movement, and they call it the Repenter. And so Dementer, Repenter, somehow it's just poetically appropriate. There's also Greens. I think the Progressive Party is available in all 50 states, but I could be wrong. And then Libertarians. So those are the ones we mostly know about, we already know about, but a lot of states that allow more than 2 parties to participate have other local state level parties. They won't be a national organization though. So then our revolution, it's a little bit of a favorite among us because we are closely related. We are an Our Revolution group as Washington Berniecrats Coalition, and they offer organizational tools and a respite for those of us who maybe have spent our lives voting Democrat, but don't feel nearly as welcome as once we'd hoped we'd be, as we once hoped we would be. So, and we thank Bernie Sanders and his team for giving us Our Revolution to have that space without having to build it ourselves. We are building it ourselves on the ground and locally, but they do have a national organization. They do send you a welcome pack. They do have Robert's Rules of Order and a lot of resources within that. It's not just a dot on a map. They send you resources. So then we also have Democratic Socialists of America and local Berniecrats. And all of these groups, this is not a comprehensive list. This is just a starting suggestion. So, and what I want to also say about these organized groups, if you're not wanting to work within the parties that exist and have local groups already present, we do, that's one of the things that's beneficial about these other groups, Our Revolution, DSA, and local Berniecrats. You can start a local group and you can set the tone of your local group. And they, especially with Our Revolution, they don't keep you from starting a group just because there's a group nearby. You might find that you don't align well with that group, and so you start another and you build a group that does align with you and work on your common goals together. And then we have issue-based groups. And again, this is not a comprehensive list. It is simply a starting point. You've got Represent Us, which is about getting money out of politics, anti-corruption, pro-democracy. We've got Whole Washington with I-1600. We're promoting healthcare for all, universal healthcare in Washington State. This is the most comprehensive bill put forth. It's not a bill, sorry, it's an initiative, a people's initiative. We're collecting signatures. So, but it's based on the most comprehensive study ever done for a state on this subject. It addresses the cost, it addresses where the money's coming from, and it offers vision and dental and rehabilitation, a lot of things that aren't covered in other previously proposed healthcare plans in other states that have not yet passed. And remember, California passed it, and their governor rejected it, vetoed it due to the money of it. And so we've covered that. It won't be the same problem here. And I tell you, the details on that are great. But this is not what it's about. So then we've also got the Poor People's Campaign, which is being led by Dr. William Barber. All of a sudden, I didn't think I said it right. I think I got it right, though. And this is a reawakening of Dr. King's, Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision to coalesce all those who are economically depressed and move them forward to fight for what they need. And it's time again to re-enliven that. More than 50% of America is living in poverty. So I'd say there's a good 50% of America who can qualify for Poor People's Campaign just on that. Then Campaign Zero, that's Black Lives Matter related. They have a comprehensive platform. I believe it has 11 aspects. I could be slightly mistaken. But when people ask, well, what does Black Lives Matter want? Well, you know what? They've got a website for you. You just Google Campaign Zero and you'll know what they want. And so, and it's solid. It's quality stuff there. We've got the People's Assembly, which is also a racial justice group. And I know Tacoma has one. And so you can start one in your neighborhood. We've got Surge, showing up for racial justice. Another racial justice group. Apparently, we've been doing our homework on those groups. 350 groups, So we've got 350 to Seattle, 350 Tacoma. I think there's a 350 Spokane. Start a chapter in your area. It's direct action. It's about direct. So if you are someone who can chain themselves to something and get arrested, that's your group. Okay, but they also need people in the background, not standing up front. They need websites and treasurers as well. Oh, let's talk treasurers later. So then Backbone Campaign, I know that is at least local to Western Washington, the Sound. I believe they're centered on Vashon, if I'm not mistaken. But they are also about direct action. Redefine Tacoma, hashtag no LNG 253 is a local Tacoma group fighting the proposed liquefied fracked gas facility at the Port of Tacoma. And so, and they're partnering with tribes all around. It's not just the Puyallup tribe, who is quite frankly they're the most directly impacted by this decision. But they are creating a coalition of tribes in this area as well. And then, and of course, the Sierra Club, a well-known environmental group. And so this is a very brief and limited list. There are gay and lesbian rights groups, and just every platform issue, every issue in Bernie Sanders' platform has a group somewhere fighting passionately for that issue. So if you can narrow your passion to one, there is a group for you. You just may have to start the group in your area, but someone already knows how to help you with that. Also, come to Washington Berniecrat's coalition on Facebook, if nothing else, because we'll embrace you and point you in the right direction if you don't find a home with us. So then I want to talk about tools. So there was some discussion about Robert's Rules of Order recently amongst some of us, and not this group on that you can see, but the Waback group, about whether or not to use Robert's Rules of Order. There are other suggestions out there. However, Robert's Rules of Order is what the Democratic Party uses, the Republican Party uses, probably all of the parties that I've already mentioned. It's what the government recognizes. So in understanding Robert's Rules of Order, you will understand these other groups, that whether or not you want to join them, you will at least understand the process that they use. And you can then go confidently into their space and make statements at their meetings while respecting the rules and not being tossed out or dismissed because of your lack of information on that level. We also like to use Action Network. We were using Action Network and Zoom, which is the next one I'll talk about. And then when we joined up with OR, turns out they recommend Action Network and Zoom. So we're ahead of the curve. That's why you got to listen to us, homies. So Zoom is an app that allows for video chat, but you can call in from your phone. You don't have to have video. It allows for communication across the state, across the nation, across the world. We Zoomed with Lissa Lucas in West Virginia. We Zoom with people in Spokane. We Zoom with people in Bellingham. It is so effective, and it even holds up pretty well if you're don't watch the video while you're driving. But if you swipe right, I think you turn off your video and it's a driving mode. And so I've even continued chatting while I drive to pick up my child, because I just can't stop. This revolution has got me on fire. So you need to know about PDC and FEC. If you want to check, like Lissa did, where the money's coming from, PDC, FEC, and then Open Secrets. The PDC and the FEC are actual like government websites. They're required. You have to do that. Open Secrets, I think, makes it slightly more user-friendly to gather that same information. But I have to be honest, that's not the research I'm doing. So if it's not exactly right what I'm saying, yeah, just give me a break. So then, and you need to know about the Secretary of State. It has bill information and who's running. It's a catch-all for so much. So you're going to find that when you ask, well, where do I find that information? People will say SOS, the Secretary of State. So there's a also, you're going to learn a language in this, and don't be afraid of learning the language, and don't be afraid of messing up, and I'm going to address that in a moment. But next I want to ask, talk about how did Bernie direct us? If we're Berniecrats or progressives who either woke up or got impassioned because of Bernie's message, you're a Berniecrat, even if you don't like the name, it's yours anyway. But Bernie directed us to enter, and he gave us our revolution. So Washington Berniecrats Coalition is really keen on not telling people how to express their passion in the revolution. But I feel like as a burner, I need to remind you why Bernie suggests entering. And it's so that you can change it. There is usually a monthly fee to be a party member, or a yearly fee, I believe, to be a party member. It's usually reasonable. And if I'm not mistaken, most LDs, the legislative districts, county party, congressional district level party, there's, I guess it's all coming down from the state. But I do believe that you go to a meeting, you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay to go to the meetings. But if you want to be a voting member, you either have to be elected as a PCO, precinct committee officer, and that is hyperlocal. That's your neighborhood. Or you have to be elected onto the board. And at a certain point, even if you're elected, they expect you to pay your dues. But entry-level elected officers are granted membership dues free. You get a vote, and you don't have to pay dues. So, but you can pay dues, or I'm sorry, this is what I was getting to. There's often, say, a scholarship or based on need. If you want to be involved and you don't have the money to pay the dues, but you want to say, tell them that you want to be involved and that you need financial help. Because at the core level, like, I'm in the center of 3 LDs, legislative districts, and we've got a district that's been taken over by burners. There might be a more friendly way to say that to not upset the rest of the party, but it's the truth. And then we've got some party people, I think the average burner expects from the party in the other districts. And so so there's a lot of meetings I want to go to, so that's a negative. But there's, you know what? I lost track of where I was going with that, so I'm just going to move forward. So when you pay your dues or get a waiver for the fees, you get a vote, and then you can change the party from the inside. It's a little bit hard for me to make time for dementoring because I know that where my passion lies is I want to do more tangible stuff, I suppose, than incremental change within the party. But I support it, and I talk with Dem party members so that they know, as a constituent who has voted as a Democrat since I was 18 years old, for lack of a better option, quite frankly, I'll put it boldly, I knew at 18 that while I wasn't going to vote for Republican, I did want someone left of the Democrats. But I voted for my best option at the time. And now I'm cultivating better options. And to party people, I want to remind you that the best way to get people to vote for Democrats is to offer great Democrats. So choose wisely who you endorse and put forth, because it is just easier for me to vote for a Democrat if the Democrat is a good one. It is easier than starting a new party. It is easier than convincing people to vote for a non-traditional party or a lesser known party. So really, please endorse candidates that inspire people to vote, because you're not just talking to someone who has the habit of voting. You're talking to people who only vote when they want to on something that is important to them. And then you've got a whole slew of people that are apathetic, but a large swath of them woke up with Bernie. If we keep offering Bernies, then more and more will wake up. There will be more voters. You will bring more people into voting for Democrats, and then when you provide candidates with policy, you will swing Republican voters, or maybe at least the ones who maybe didn't identify as Republican, but didn't vote Democrat last time, and so, but you'll garner them back. Okay, sorry, but back to the revolution. So there's the argument for Dem-Enter, and of course, I'm not invested in your personal Dem-Enter. That's your choice, but that's the reason behind it. Our revolution, I think, is maybe my favorite recommendation, because anybody can start Our Revolution group. Washington Berniecrat Coalition existed before. We're an autonomous group that is now associated with Our Revolution. We get to use their tools, and we get to connect with other Our Revolution groups in Washington and across the nation. So it's a catching place. I'm pretty sure, I haven't double checked, but I'm pretty sure if you're a DSA group, that you could be OR DSA Tacoma, OR Socialist Alternative Seattle, OR Libertarians. Don't put limits on people anymore. Just because someone says, I'm a libertarian, don't expect to know what that means to them. So, because now these days we're talking policy. Stop asking how you align with parties and start asking about where you align on policy, bills, the platform. And Our Revolution allows a place for all of these people who are interested in policy to come together and move that forward. We just had a labor meeting last night in Tacoma. So Tacoma Labor for Our Revolution is the group name, and it was so exciting. They have experience being organized, and I'm just thinking, yeah, we should have done this sooner. Like, it was always on our radar to reach out to unions, but we're volunteers and we have a lot going on. We're getting there. So then you have to, but it was just a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, yes, labor knows the things we're trying to learn. So again, go to your labor. They know things. You want to plan a march? Labor knows how to march. We're doing this. So to wrap it up, and then I'll ask if there's any questions. And then if there's time to fill, we have some ideas for that too. But I think I did it. So things to remember when you're going to meetings and when you're starting groups and getting involved. And then I remembered something I did skip. But remember, intent versus impact. What you're intending to say, how the intent of what you're saying might not be the impact you're making. And the impact you're making might not have been the intent you had, which is the same thing. So as a listener, remember that what you're hearing, the impact of what you're hearing emotionally might not be the intent of the speaker. So take the time to ask for clarification, communicate with each other. And then when the next step is, when I'm a gregarious person, it's hard for me to remember to not be quiet for other people sometimes. So this is important to me. I move up, I say my piece, I move back. So that gives space for people who might need more time, or a little time to feel comfortable in that group, a little time to get their thoughts together. People aren't moving at the same pace. So you move up, and then you move back. You make space for other people. And then another thing, and we're all learning this, And then sometimes it doesn't even offend, but don't interrupt. When someone is speaking, don't finish their sentence. When someone is speaking, don't jump in with the idea that they stimulated within you. Write down your idea so that you don't lose track of it, and continue listening. And then the next thing is be aware of relative privilege. So we all have, most people have some degree of relative privilege. My example is my best friend was diagnosed with MS when she was 20 years old. We were 20 years old. That was devastating. She just passed about 2 years ago. But over the course of the 20 years, almost near 20 years of her illness, she slowly but surely lost her ability to walk. And I became ever more aware that I do have the ability to walk. So no matter how much pain I have, because I do live with pain, I can walk, and I don't take the closest parking spot. And I do make sure that I go to marches that I can, and I have a voice and I use it. So you know what your abilities are, acknowledge where other people may not have those abilities, where they might have challenges that you don't, and it's not always obvious. It's hard to remember that as a white person, it might be easy for you to across the parking lot of a church, neighborhood church, but it might be different for a black person. They might have what are they doing? They're crossing a parking lot just like I did 15 minutes ago. But who's going to get called, the cops called on them? Who has the greater risk of the cops being called? So that's relative privilege. So as a woman, I know that I'm not the most privileged, but I have relative privilege. I'm not wealthy, but I'm not amongst the poorest. I have a vehicle, but it's not fancy. So just know where you land and be responsive to where other people land on the spectrum of privilege as well. So, and I did want to go back. I forgot to touch on universities and tech schools and all that comes between them. They often have student unions. So even if you're in an area that has only Republicans and Democrats and you're just not interested in working through those systems, go to your local community college and or tech school and ask if there's a student union, see what they're doing. There's often groups like the ones I mentioned before, Black student unions and gay and lesbian rights and diversity groups. And there's often young Dems, young libertarians, young Republicans, young DSA. So everything I've already mentioned as for groups, they're often found with just young in front of that group name in colleges. So you're never alone, because if you're watching this, you probably have internet connection, so you always have access to us. But there's a high likelihood that there is already someone somewhere near you looking for you to join with them. So it's about deciding, even if it's just, I want to do something. I've decided I want to do something. You know what? Put a paper up at your grocery store or your library. You know, get some labels and a marker and start leaving stickers in appropriate places around town. Draw attention to yourself if you can't see who else is out there. You be the beacon on the hill. So I guess I think I've covered this as much as I can without rambling too far abroad. Are there any questions?
No, there's no questions, but there's a great conversation
because I answered them all already.
You did a great job. Everybody was very intent on listening to what you had to say, and you relayed the information brilliantly. So thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. And what's our time like, Rhonda? Did I suck it all up?
Yes, you did. That was a wonderful job. If we, I know there was some worry in that. It was a great job hitting on all those points. I would also recommend joining your local League of Women Voters.
Yes.
They really do hit a lot of issues, and they've got some amazing things in place to organize. So I just wanted to kick that in there too.
Excellent. Oh, and then once you've found your group, then you make coalition meetings, and then you do what I like to call rest and respite. Oh, if only I could say it. Rest and respite in the revolution. And you go and you have a good ginger beer and you listen to some music, and it's a social movement. Have a party. This is you have to take care of yourself. Don't forget self-care.
That is very true. A lot of people do tend to forget that we need to take care of ourselves to be able to take care of others. So thank you so much, Courtney.
Thank you, Rhonda. And
Now-
everybody.
Right. Now we are ready for our all-powerful Oz. I'm really looking forward to this segment this week. Oz, can you please just take it away?
Well, first I want to get a sound check here quickly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good to go.
Okay, well, I've been looking forward to this segment all week too, and I have some friends out there I wanted to touch on real quick that like to remind me of historical precedents. And a friend of mine yesterday, she told me that Pinocchio was released 78 years ago. And I said back to her that, yeah, wow, that's a long time. Was it Attica or Rikers Island? I haven't heard back from her yet, though, and I don't know why. But moving right along, the topic for this week is going to require me to put my thinking cap on, and it's called Ecology Gone Too Far. Now, what Ecology Gone Too Far is that this was a stunt that was pulled by some leaders of our state, state senators, mayors, things like that, or individuals like that. And it was an outright blatant attack on the Department of Ecology of Washington State. An all-star cast of elected officials from Colwitz County assembled on the steps of the state capitol building in Olympia Tuesday, holding signs protesting what they view as a State Department ecology run amok. Wow, that's a pretty heavy statement. Well, the group included all three legislators representing the 19th Legislative District, a Colwitz County Commissioner, and Mayor of Longview, and a Longview City Council member. Industry representatives and local labor leaders also were present. Port of Longview Commissioner Jeff Wilson, who I've got a little pic down there on the side, he's got his red conservative power tie on, who organized the event, said it was the first time he can remember such a broad group of county leaders coalescing on the Capitol steps. When's the last time so many local leaders actually demonstrated against a state agency? That's a great question. We believe ecology has run rogue, is what he said. And I think that's pretty much the point of this stunt. Wilson said the demonstration was not in specific response to any of the agency's rulings, although companies seeking permits for fossil fuel projects have suffered a string of setbacks. Bummer for state regulators in recent months. Ecology denied Millennium Bulk Terminal a key water quality permit for its proposed $680 million Longview coal terminal in September. I say right on to that. Meanwhile, the State Shoreline Hearings Board reversed two key permits for Northwest Innovations Works' $1.8 billion methanol plant in Kalama the same month. I'm all for that. The two projects together would create more than 300 family wage jobs, millions of dollars in tax revenue, and I want to point out that millions of dollars of tax revenue will probably pay for 0.01% of the cost of the Superfund cleanup needed to clean this disaster up when it finally blows apart. But they've been bitterly fought by environmentalists and some concerned citizens. Now, what are environmentalists? Are they not concerned citizens, or are they like chipmunks just chipping at things? Many local businesses and government leaders, however, contend ecology has acted arbitrarily and beyond the scope of its authority in reviewing proposed industrial projects. Now, that was a little bit lengthy, but I wanted to get it out there because it's important to set the foundation of my following points. Wilson said the protest was just a start of a broader dialogue local leaders wish to have about reforming the agency. A broader dialogue that set up alerts and flags and warning whistles and everything to me. When asked about specific reforms, Wilson said it's too early in the process to outline complex changes. Quote, we're interested in starting the process for checks and balances. Well, I asked my friend John Stewart what he thought of that kind of a statement, and he just kind of gave me this, you dumbass look. And I said, okay, John, I get it. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, State Rep Jim Walsh, Republican Aberdeen, held a sign that said, ecology gone too far. He said in past interviews that he supports legislation that would limit the agency to providing research and data to public makers, as opposed to allowing ecology to create and implement policy itself. I don't know if I like that idea. I think ecology is full of people that are expert in the field of environment and things like that. State Representative Brian Blake, a Democrat from Aberdeen, offered similar sentiment. My hope is that someday permit discussions will be based on science and law. Well, I thought the permit discussions are done by the Department of Environmental Quality, and it is based on science, looking at how the laws should be made. I don't know, that maybe I'm reading it all wrong. Now that brings me to Senator Dean Tacko. Now he's our state senator from the 19th district. And I called Senator Dean Tacko, his office anyway, and I asked to talk to him for a minute and get his statement on this stunt, as I call it, that he participated in. Well, it took a day or two and I didn't hear anything. So I called back and I left a message saying that, Senator Tacko, I was wondering if I were to start talking about your donors in relation to this demonstration stunt that you were involved in, if you would be interested in giving me a statement after you hear my response to you not calling me back. Well, lo and behold, an hour later, I got a call back from Senator Tacko. I thought it was great. I thanked him for calling him back, and I asked him if he had a statement. And he said, well, it's not really about an attack on the Department of Environment Ecology. It's that we just want a straight yes or no, a straight up and down vote on whether they're going to allow the permit or not. I asked Senator Tacko, well, how long did he think an environmental impact statement should take the ecology department? And he said, well, it shouldn't take 4 years. And I have to tell you, he sounded a little bit nervous talking to me, but that's okay. I get nervous when I'm talking to people. So I followed up with a question after he said, well, look at all those important people standing out there, business and labor leaders and everything, all the mayor and council people, that they're about the jobs. And I said, well, Senator Tacko, how many environmentalists were in that group? And he said, well, I have a degree in environmental science, so I would say that I would be representative of environmentalists. At that point, I thanked him for him calling me back and giving me some kind of a statement, which was absolute bullshit. But that's okay. He did it. So I'm going to credit him with that. Now, just to finish off my point here, and I had to put my thinking cap on to do this, I wanted to do something like Lissa Lucas did. But I'll tell you, I did this before Lissa Lucas came out. Not that I want any credit for it, but I've always talked about looking at a voting record of a representative and comparing it with the donors that they have. Well, I'm going to have to start walking that talk, because I went through Senator Tacko's campaign contributors, and it's kind of an interesting batch of critters. Verizon, BNSF Railway Company, Washington Association of Realtors, the Political Affairs Council, MVN Quality Drilling, Inva Energy LLC, AT&T Services, Chevron. Wow, Chevron, they don't have anything to do with any energy things. Eli Lilly and Company, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the country. O'Connell Drilling and Supply, not that they need to be involved in anything that has to do with environmental impact, or Sprint, microwave towers are no problem, and the Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers. They're not interested in how environmental impact statements are going to affect them, are they? So that being said, I want to tip my thinking cap to Lissa Lucas calling out bribed committee members. And that's what I want to support this show with, is that we need to be doing that ourselves. And I need to start walking the talk. And I hope that this helps inspire you to do the same. It's transparency, it's open government, it's what we need. And I'm going to say that I consider Lissa Lucas our super girl of the week. I hope that I can evolve into a superhero with my chest out and my cape flapping in the wind. I would choose to portray kind of a Spawn sort of person, as we do all over the country. And I have a couple other superheroes and heroines, friends down there. And Major Glory is what I think our current representatives try and represent, which is absolute hypocritical on their part. I do have an announcement today, and I want to offer this quote before I make this announcement. And this quote is from Dante. If you always see the road ahead of you, it's not worth the trip. And I've been doing a lot of soul searching this week, and I've decided that the best way to help Progressive Washington in this show is to go into a hiatus mode and reflect on some creative and artistic ways to think about and develop some tangible ideas to help shows like Progressive Washington and Progressive Oregon and California, the Western Wall, to get more engaged or outreach or raise money and things like that. So I think that's the way I'm going to be able to best serve the progressive movement. And I have to tell you, I'm very sad that I need to do this, but I really need to do this. And I want your support in allowing me some time to reflect on these things. And I just have to say, I appreciate the opportunity, the chance at a shot here with this group. I think their show has been a wonderful place for me to get out there and kick some dust off my style. I'm sorry I'm a little bit running long, but I had to get that out. And I hope you enjoyed the segment today, and I hope to see you again down the road if a show can kick me in for 5 or 8 minutes and listen to me blabber and play the fool, which I enjoy. And I'm going to send this hat, which is a turkey hat, to Dean Taco. So when he stands out there holding a sign, making a fool out of us, challenging our democracy, that he might consider wearing that. So anyway, I want to thank everybody. Again, it's been a wonderful experience, and I hope I get a chance again. Maybe John's got a broom I could push down there, because it helps me think. And remember that the Land of Oz supports whole Washington, healthcare for all, because healthcare is a human right. You see anybody holding those 1,600 forms out there, please sign it and support Healthcare Washington. Thank you so much. It has been my honor and my pleasure to be here with all of you.
Oh, Oz, they love your thinking cap.
Yes, they do. I'm saddened to hear about you talking about stepping away for a bit. You are always, you're a part of us. You're always here, and a space is always available. Thank you. Brian, we've got to do some progressive updates in a flash. Can you flash it out for us,
I'll
please?
try and flash as fast as I can. So welcome, everyone. That was quite the announcement from Oz. I'm sad to see that. Everybody in the audience really enjoys your segment, and I hope that we are able to accommodate in the future. So quick shout out to all the volunteers and dedicated staff of Whole Washington out there collecting signatures and all the great strides they've made for us on behalf of getting Medicare for all Washingtonians. Here's the group photo that they're from last weekend, and I wanted to bring Rhonda in real quick, and even Courtney, because they're actually in the photo.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great event. I'm so glad that you guys were able to go. So if you want to get a quick update on that real quick to go along here, and I'll keep going.
It was amazing. Everybody there was more than excited to gather a big chunk of ballots to take out to get signatures. I've already delivered over 120 myself around town. People are way excited about this. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. So, and then moving on, we've got our list here of endorsed candidates, and we've got Dorothy Gasquet. She's in CD3, Southwest Washington, veteran of the Iraq War. She's a natural leader, many different forms of public service. Also in her background, as far back as her great grandfather, I believe, 3 generations. So she's got some events coming up. There's 3 of them that I have listed out here, and she's going to be in South Bend at 3:30 on the 20th at the Elixir Coffee Shop. There's also some other events for canvassing on the 17th and the 18th, and I'm sure she needs some help. I've got all the links down below, and you guys are more than welcome to check those out, get involved. There's links for all of our pages that we're affiliated with and all the candidates that we have endorsed. We'll go on to Sarah. She's my next candidate that I want to talk about. She's got an event with us that we are hosting at the Union Bar in Seattle on the 24th for the Progressive Candidates Social. It's candidates you can actually have a beer with, and we're excited to be able to get that event squared away. And I'm actually scheduled to be there, all things as they are right now. I will hope to be there and get met with everybody. She's running in CD9. It's one of the most popular districts and one of the most important as far as the LNG as well, since it covers most of the port, as you can see here. Anybody have any questions that they would like to ask real quick before moving on?
No questions yet. Plow through.
Alrighty. All of the groups that we're affiliated with, you can find them on this page here, and links are all down below. I wanted to reiterate on the Workers Demand Healthcare that's coming up on March 1st. That's hosted by Rhonda, and if you wanted to touch on that real quick, Rhonda, give a quick brief update on there, you're more than welcome to.
It's actually hosted by Whole Washington, and it was local ILW Local 4. Our longshoremen are joining us in this event. It's the kickoff to where we will have Gerald Friedman as our keynote speaker, and we'll also show the movie Fix It. We will have that playing in with captions, and we will be having interpreters at this event. So we will start sharing that out more now that it's all confirmed. So please come and learn.
All right. Thank you for that. And now we could have the LNG Trivia Night. That's happening on Thursday, March 1st from 6 to 9. That's at the Forum in Tacoma. If you guys can make that, it's supposed to be really cool. Maybe Courtney will be there. I'm not sure. Do you know if you're going to be able to make that one, Courtney, at all?
I might be able to, however, because I am a parent and that goes past bedtime. And
right.
The Forum, I haven't been there. So if it's a bar, then I probably can't make it.
Right.
Sadly. But and besides, I should let someone else have an opportunity to win.
There you go. We're pretty well versed in all this stuff. So we're going to have some more updates on the LNG in the future. Next week, I believe, is part of our show. So, and here's our Progressive Candidate Social. If you guys are interested, please come and join us. I hope to be there, and it's going to be really amazing. So check us out. If there's any more questions, we can get on out of here, get the outro video.
What's this slide?
See it, Eddie?
You want to do the what you can do slide, or are we just going to the video?
We'll go to the video. On to Pepper. This song, I've known this band for a really long time, and I've been a really good fan of them. So if anybody else has anything they want to add, it's Pepper, do something.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Share this. Good job.
Cause I realize that there's not much time, so we better get this started right now. Cause if the world does end, I want all my friends to be inside when the shit goes down. Yeah, it's on for this evening. Inhale, you're breathing. Take this as your invite and live your life tonight. People, are you ready? The dance is hot in town. And if the world don't end, I say we do this again, cause that's what makes the shit go round. Up your system, up to listen, up your cup, up until you hit the top. And with so much trouble in a constant struggle, I guess we might as well give up. But before we go, I'm gonna need to know that we all went out with one last blast. Cause if we come together, maybe things will get better and make a world that just my last. Alright, it's on for this evening. Inhale, you're breathing. Take this as your invite and live your life tonight. People, are you ready? The dance is hot in town. And if the world don't end, I say we do this again, cause that's what makes the shit go round. People, are you ready? The dance is hot in town. And if the world don't